Alrighty, so welcome back, everyone. I was just saying we are in week 3. I think this is one of my favorite weeks of coaching because today we're going to talk about using your quiz for segmenting rather your leads that come in through the quiz as they come into your email marketing platform. Because as we've talked about in the last couple of weeks, the best way to sell something is really through email marketing and giving people the right information when they need it at the right time. So let's get right to it. But you always know I love to start with how's everyone doing today? Catch me up on your quizzes. Any questions right off the bat you want to go through? The chat, unmute yourself, whatever is easier.
I'm excited because I'm at the finish line. I can see the tape.
Yay!
So that's where I'm at. And this is such
cool.
Good timing.
Perfect. I do want to ask everybody how you feel about the homework, because I love to take the feedback from all of you and put this back into the sessions, really optimize our coaching, our community, our builder. So how are you all feeling about the homework that we're giving you? Is it too much? Is it doable? Is this gift bothering you? And if you are watching the replay, let me know in the Quiz Collective. We can also stay in touch there if you have anything to add. Dan, I think I cut you off.
I'm the guy that always waits, and if no one's going to say something, I totally will.
I can't hear Dan. Am I the only one?
Well,
can you hear him now? I can
me?
hear Dan. I can hear everybody, I think. Ellen, I heard you. Dan, I can hear you good. Greg, can you hear Dan?
I can hear him, but it's like the volume's pretty low.
I need to eat the mic.
All right, that's interesting because I can hear you fine.
Because you're wearing headphones. I've had this with other people.
Oh.
People you can only hear with headphones, and I can hear Dan also very softly. But I hear you perfectly. So, and I heard Greg perfectly. So I don't know.
Okay, well, if Dan has anything to add, questions or whatnot, I'll just repeat back if needed. All right, Gabby, I see that you are just like the cat right now. You forgot what the homework is, so let's talk about that. So last week we had you brainstorm a whole bunch of title ideas, but we also got really, I don't know what the word is, but we shared a lot of quizzes on the call. So we did a lot of this live, which was awesome. And then you were to update a template, or maybe you have a quiz started already where you updated it with your favorite title, added in your easy wins, your resources, and your bio. So at this point, and also I just want to say it's totally fine if you are not to this point yet. But at this point, if you're up to date on the homework, you should have a cover page and results pages that your leads will fall into. Today, we're going to talk about the questions to get people to the right results. Next week, we will have a tech expert, Liesel, on the call that's going to show you exactly how to integrate your quiz with your email marketing platform so that by week 5, you are ready to hit publish. And I also want to reiterate that no matter what, it's totally fine whatever your quiz looks like right now too. If you're not totally thrilled with the pictures, with the title, with the language of the results, if it's in bullet form, that is okay. All right, so just a reminder here. In the Quiz Collective, if you're still working through your topics, your titles, or your results, if you're going to come back to them at a later time, or if something comes up really at any time, right here, topics, titles, and results is where the convo is happening about these things. And then I always have the resources pinned over to the side. Those are different blog posts that I really like to use or reference with people in the community. And also if some community members share different blog posts or resources that they've used, I'll pin those there as well. So if you're using something that really helped you figure out a topic, figure out a title, get the right results, let us know what that is. You can comment in this resource section, and then we'll just continue building that out so that we're bringing the most helpful documentation, videos, whatever it is, to you all. I see in the chat. Will you be able to show us how to edit the front page? Yeah, let me do that right now, Ellen. So I think what you mean, let me just open the builder. While I'm opening it, Ellen, do you just mean editing the quiz cover page?
Yeah, my quiz cover page, it has a person, but I want to put type. Someone set it up for me, just in full disclosure, the first time.
Yeah, sure. That's okay.
And there's no, it's just like a woman and there's white copy, and I want white space. I want to put some copy in there.
Okay,
Am I supposed to do
so
that?
you should be able to see the builder. What's your level of emotional intelligence? Do you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's where this is all free form. You can type in whatever you want here, your title. This is the description. You can
Right.
even edit the text on this button. There's usually, especially if you started with a template or if someone's created this for you, there's already a picture in here.
Yes.
You can just click on, if you just hover over, edit cover image, and then you can use our search here for unsplash stock photos or GIFs. Or, so let me just say, let's do a picture of someone smiling. I can see, like, I can choose from the stock photos here, or you can load more. So there's lots of options in here. Or up at the top, you can add a GIF. So all the different GIFs will appear and you can play with those. Something that we get asked is like, do you recommend a picture versus a GIF? And that's really something, I think photos in general drive engagement. They make the quiz lighter, easier to take. It's not so much reading, it's easier on the eyes. One thing I've heard about GIFs, and this is just from within coaching, is if I have a GIF on the slide that stays there, so let's say somebody has like a more thought-provoking question they have to think about and choose their answer, a GIF could be distracting. So think about that. Like in coaching, people are like, I can't even listen to what you're saying because you have this GIF running on the slide. So just something to think about. And then you can also upload your own photo. So if you have photos that you're using on your website, maybe your own stock photos, you can update those right here. One thing to note is the file size for all the images you upload into the cover page, the questions, the results should be less than 2 megabytes. And then there's also a sizing sort of like recommended dimensions there, because let me just show you. When you click on the image or upload the image that you want to add, this frame won't change in terms of like ratio. So the best, I mean, not the best images, but so that you include everything you want to have in that space, that would be the dimensions that you would need to create to do that. And then you could play around with it, like if you want to make it smaller or bigger, whatever, crop and save, and then it will put that right into the cover page for you.
But you see, you can't put copy in the photo. It's got to be beneath.
I see. You could, what you could do is I'd probably recommend a tool like Canva, and you could create an image in Canva that says whatever you need and then upload that photo into here. If you're doing that, then 100% make sure in Canva the dimensions of the image you're creating is 900 by 400 so that all of the text appears.
900 by 400 is the images.
I'm just making sure. Oh, where is it? Right here. Yes, 900 by 400 pixels. All right, so that answered your question?
Thank you. Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
And I mean, you could really use any tool to make the graphic. I think my go-to is Canva, so that's why I said that one. And actually, next week, I believe it's in the events section of the community. We have Yvonne doing a member-hosted session on like best practices and tips and tricks in using Canva. And the reason we set that up is because we've talked about Canva on calls like this before, and Yvonne just like brings up all these extra things that you can do that I never even knew about. So if anyone is using Canva, wants to use Canva, wants to make more graphics, check that session out, because she's going to be showing us like how to use it most efficiently. All right, back to the deck here. So like I was saying, topics, titles, and results, anything that you want to share more on there, or if you come back to that part of your quiz at any point, you can stay in touch with us right here. And then let's get on to questions and segmentation. So the first question is, what the heck does segmentation even mean? And basically, it's just tagging people in your email marketing software with things that you know about them, which you're going to get from the quiz, right? So if you think about your audience, and I want to explain, we talked about this a little in week 1, but I really want to explain why segmentation works so well. And if you think about your audience, it's filled with different types of people, right? So they have different interests, different needs or desires. Maybe they're at different levels of experience, or like they're just getting started further along in this journey. Different levels of awareness when it comes to solutions that you offer, or just solutions in general. And so segmentation, tagging the lead with like where they're at or what their goals are, helps you meet them where they're at, helps you get really specific so you can give the right person the right content at the right time. So it might sound scary, but really all segmentation is a tool to help you get more specific with who you're talking to and why, so you can get better results with your emails and ultimately let them make a bigger impact. So you're not just sending one email like blanket statement to everybody. You can get more specific in the content that you're sharing with them. All right, just a few stats. Marketers found a 760% increase in email revenue from segmented campaigns. Segmented email campaigns have an open rate almost 15% higher than non-segmented campaigns, and segmented campaigns get 55% higher click-through than non-segmented. So segmented email campaigns based on database fields is just the tag that you're assigning to your person. We will get more into the tech of like setting this up in your email marketing platform next week with Liesel. But I just want to call out that depending on the platform that you use for email marketing, tagging might be called something different. It might be called segments, it might be called lists, it might be called tags. So we can go further into that next week if anybody is having trouble figuring out how to apply these tags. Or if you haven't even tried it yet, that's fine. We'll show you next week. Okay, and then just a couple more stats here. I won't read through these. You can really find a lot of data out there, but I just want to showcase how worthwhile it is to learn about your audience and then consider what you know about them before you send out any emails or sort of like blanket statements, maybe like blanket sales pitches. You can really get specific with this information because again, I think this was in week 1 where I brought it up. If you went to the store and you could purchase a one-size-fits-all jacket versus a custom tailored jacket that fits you perfectly, probably everybody, right, is going to go for that custom tailored jacket. And so that's sort of what you're doing here with segmentation, really getting specific with who is getting what information and at what time. All right, so what should you base your segmentation strategy on? And there's a couple things you can think about, but let's keep this as simple as possible. So I want you all to think about the offers that you currently have, or maybe the offers that you're wanting to make, and then think about who those offers are for. And those can be your segments. It can literally be as simple as that. So what are the offers that you have? Who are those offers for? And then if you segment your audience based on that, you'll know exactly who needs to get which offer. And then think about, so you can segment within the quiz based on the result that someone is getting and or the way that they're answering a certain question or certain questions. So think about what you want to know about your people. Is it the result that they're getting from your quiz? Is that what you need to know to send them the right information or like follow up with the right things? Or do you want to know the way that they're answering certain questions? And just an example of that, we worked with a gal before, rather Dawn worked with a gal before. Her name was Casey. She offers teaching courses, and her quiz was helping teachers find their teacherpreneur type. So it was very much so a personality style quiz. But on the back end, what Casey wanted to know was how new to teaching you were. Were you brand new or have you been around for a while? So what she segmented on was not the result. She didn't care so much about that. She segmented based on if someone was a total beginner or if they were more intermediate, because then she knew who she could help or who she could better service, I guess I should say. So even if you don't feel like you're ready for something like segmentation quite yet, I would absolutely recommend that you get this set up with your quiz, because you're really going to be setting your future self up for success. So even if you don't have offers yet, if you're really just getting started with your business, if you start segmenting now, when you create those offers or when you have them, or maybe you want to put people on a wait list, you'll know exactly who you can reach out to, because you'll know who needs which offer, what value they need from you. All right, and I guess another way to phrase this, because some people do get hung up on this step, is if you're not sure where to get started, go back to like begin with the end in mind, right? So we'll talk more about email marketing in week 5, but we do recommend after the quiz sending an email, just reminding people of the result they got, giving them some more value, right? You've collected their email, probably the next thing you're going to do is send them an email once they're on your list. So think about if you have any existing freebies or resources, or maybe you're creating one or figuring out which ones to create, what to create. Think about that. And then going back to segmentation, think about what information you would need to know about a person to figure out which thing you should send them, right? Like which offer or why. Maybe it's one offer for everybody or one resource for everybody, but that resource would speak to different people for different reasons. So sort of think backwards that way in like, okay, this is the next step I'm going to take them on. What do I need to know about them so I can get them the right help that they want or that they need? All right, so before I go on to questions, does anybody have any questions about segmentation, or maybe want to share how you're currently segmenting your list or what you're thinking about doing when you get your quiz set up? Oops, and I see some chats in here. Yay, Dan. I love it. Yeah, it really helps. This is like the bread and butter. I think this is why it's my favorite week, because this segmentation is what's helping you get specific. Go ahead, Ellen.
Okay, so if you want to segment your list, but the question in the quiz doesn't really go with the quiz. So for example, my quiz is about what personality type are you, trying to determine if someone's ultra aggressive or just sitting on the sidelines. But what's important to me is I want to know if they're a corporate person, an entrepreneur, or where they are in their business. So how do you insert that into the quiz?
Perfect. I'm going to show you an example of that in just a little bit with a specific question. But what you would do is you can ask those things. You'll set up the tagging to your email marketing system based off of how they answer that question, rather than the result that they got, which that's what Liesel's going to show us step by step next week. But essentially, in short, I'm going to show you a screenshot so it'll make more sense in a little bit. But essentially, you just wouldn't correlate that question with a specific result. That way, they can answer the question however they need to answer it, and it doesn't affect the result that they're going to get.
And there's an option that says don't correlate with this question in the quiz.
Yeah. I'm going to show you. I'm just going to jump to it real quick. So basically, if you are correlating an answer with a question, you're just connecting these dots. So they answer this, they should get this result. If you're wanting to do what Ellen's saying, where they answer a question that shouldn't impact the result that they got, you would just leave it blank like this. So that way, whichever answer they're selecting, it's not impacting the result, the final result that they'll get.
Hey, can you say that again? I didn't get it.
Yep. So these are your answers on the left to the question. This is just one question. Actually, let me show you this first. So in the builder, it looks like when you write your question, it's going to look like this. So you'll click on this for a personality quiz. If you're doing a scored quiz, it's very similar. I think it just says edit answer settings or edit score or something like that. So you want to click edit result correlations, and then that will open up. That will open up this page. So your answers to the question are on the left and all of your results are on the right. So if you want them to select an answer, but it not impact the result they get, you just leave all of this correlating blank so that it doesn't the system doesn't tally like towards any specific result. They can choose any answer, but it's not going to impact the final result that they get.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Whereas I just want to do the opposite now. Whereas if you choose an answer that impacts, like this should give you sort of like a point towards getting a certain result. All you're doing is connecting the dots and correlating an answer to a result. And I can do this in the live builder if you want to see this live too. We can absolutely do that. So let's go through. Well, before I start with the questions, are there any questions about segmentation? How you can segment your list, things you're thinking of, anything like that? All right, so there are 3 different types of questions that you can have within your quiz, and I would absolutely suggest maybe using like a mixture of all of these things, but really the best part is you can ask questions that do all of these things. So let's go through each of these question types. So the first one is an engagement question, and nobody's getting proposed to, right? But if you do this right, you're definitely going to get your leads to want to stick with you through thick and thin because they're excited about the value that you're providing or maybe about the topic that you're talking about. So they're going to want more. So the primary objective with engagement questions is to entertain the quiz taker, have some fun, and simply just keep them engaged. Now, that said, this isn't like a free-for-all to just ask anything that you want. You still want your questions to relate to your overall quiz topic or align to the result that someone is going to get. Because if you ask something that's like so far-fetched or like totally out from left field, people might feel like they're wasting your time within the quiz because they won't see the connection, and they'll be like, maybe they would say like, oh, this isn't what I expected. Let me just close out of the quiz. So your question options for an engagement question should reflect the audience taking the quiz, but they don't necessarily need to tie back into the results. That's what we just talked about with Ellen, that example I just gave. And if you do have an engagement question that maybe is a little bit too far-fetched, but it maybe relates to the result that someone's going to get, or it fits in nicely with your overall topic and improves the quiz taker experience, go ahead and ask it. It's definitely fine. Just be careful with asking something that's maybe like too irrelevant because people might feel like they're wasting their time and exit out of your quiz. So for each of these question types, I'm going to use this template from our builder, what's your all-worthy brand archetype, so that we can see what these different types of questions actually look like. And this is a personality quiz that we use the DISC model for. So I just wanted to call that out in case anybody was following that same format. But you can still ask these same types of questions, even if it's not a personality quiz or even if you're not using the DISC formula or model. Okay, so the first question here, how does your dream client spend his or her day off? So this one is fun because it gets people to think about their dream clients. And it relates to the result someone's going to get because your all-worthy brand should reflect the wants and needs of your dream clients, the people that you want to work with. And this question, what was I going to say? So yeah, this question also relates to the results. You can ask an engagement, you can ask any question that doesn't relate to the final tally or the final result that they're going to get. But when you ask a question that serve sort of multiple purposes, so it's engaging, but it's also getting someone to the right spot, you're able to ask less questions. The less questions you have in your quiz, the easier it is for the lead to get to the end and submit their email, which is ultimately what you want. We always get asked, how many questions should I have in my quiz? We recommend 7 to 10. That seems to be the sweet spot of like people are able to get through that amount of questions. That said, you can absolutely have less or more. I would really just think about how many questions do you need to have to get people to the right place, to get the value, to really understand who you're working with and give them the right value. And then here's another example of an engagement question. Again, this can relate to the result that you're going to get. It does in this case, for this template. And this is also a question that I see a lot in the quiz feedback channel. So in all of your quizzes when people are sharing in the community. And so this one is fun. It's positive. It's just simply getting you to describe your brand using an emoji. I've also seen people do a question similar to this, but maybe instead of comparing it to an emoji, it's related relating your brand to a TV show or a movie or a character or a celebrity, something like that. And so sometimes you will have more serious questions that you're going to want to ask your audience. And so if you do have more serious questions, or maybe like more thought-provoking questions that you need to ask, do your best to sandwich them between two fun, lighter, or more engaging questions. Because if you have too many things that are like too hard to answer back to back, it can cause people to exit the quiz because they're just spending too much time thinking through what to answer. And so they might leave. So it's totally fine to ask something that's more thought-provoking, maybe a little bit heavier, but also, but if you're going to do that, just do your best to maybe put it later on in the quiz. So it's not like right out the gate. The further someone gets through your questions, the more likely they are to finish the quiz. But also you can sandwich them between like two lighter or more fun questions. Okay, and then I'm going to go through this again just to make sure everyone's clear on this. And if I need to, I can show you in the builder what this looks like too, just so you can see like a live screen share. But let's say in this case, we're going to correlate these answers to the result that somebody is going to get. So you'll just click right here on Edit Result Correlations. And then you're just going to connect the dots of which answer relates to which result. If you are using a scored quiz, instead of correlating the answer, you're going to assign a range of points to each result, and then each answer will have a set amount of points that you'll assign to it so that the quiz taker gets the result that, how do I say this? The quiz taker gets the result that totals the number of points they got from the quiz. So however many points they got from your scored quiz, selecting those answers, that total, whichever range it relates to on the result, is the result that they will get. For this one, whichever answer they're selecting, the majority, I have such a hard time explaining this. Whichever answer they've selected that correlates to the result that they've chosen most often, if that makes sense, is the result that they're going to get. Any questions on that? Or do you want me to show you what that looks like in the live builder?
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it, Ellen.
Sorry. What happens if they tie, or do you have to make sure there's no way they can tie?
Great question. So if they do tie, they're going to get the result that whichever result is listed first in the builder. So just as an example, this one starts with the Olympian, and I'm not even sure the Taste Master. I don't know what this one is. Let's just call it Taste Master. So if they tied between those two, they would get the Olympian result because that one is first in the builder. So I would make sure when you're setting up your quizzes, maybe have an odd number of questions that relate to the result they're going to get, so there isn't a tie. Perfect.
I have a follow-up to that if it's okay.
Yeah, for sure.
There's definitely some in mine, not a ton, but some in mine where the node on the left would go to two different results. Is that the same kind of tie goes to the upper type of?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. It will. And yeah, so that's a good point, Dan. You can correlate your answer to as many results as you want. I think for simplicity's sake and to avoid like any skewing within the quiz, so like, like getting the tie and just getting the result that's in there first, is try to have one answer that fits to each result, because that makes sure there's like an equal opportunity to land on any of the results. Whereas if you have maybe like, let's just say there's one question that one answer relates to multiple things, you're giving more of a chance for someone to get one result versus another. So totally fine to do that. Just be careful that it could skew your results. But if you need to do that, that's fine. You can always make changes to it later as you see what happens when people take the quiz. All right, so the next type of question is segmentation questions. And these are questions that you'll use to tag in your email marketing platform. So Ellen, this is what you were talking about, where you would want to know the way someone is answering a certain question, not necessarily the personality result that they got at the end of the quiz. Just an example of like this in like a use case of this, I guess, is we worked with a lady who is a top resume writer. So she wanted to know how soon people were hoping to transition into their new jobs. So one of the questions that she made in her quiz was how ready are you to transition jobs? So she knew who might need, like who would be more ready to work with her, whereas like maybe other people who aren't going to switch jobs for a year or so might need more nurturing or wouldn't be as ready to work with her because they weren't in this position to change jobs right now. All right, so this is a pretty common question that we'll see within the quiz feedback channel. So in all of your quizzes, what stage is your business in? And this is a great segmentation question because it's very likely that you're going to reach out to someone who's just getting started very differently than you would for somebody who's been around for a while, right? And also, like Ellen was saying, it doesn't matter what stage of the business you're in, like anybody. Okay, so let me say this backwards. It doesn't matter what personality type you have. Anybody with any personality type could be in any stage of their business. So this is probably a question, well, depending on your quiz and your like what your goal is here, but this is probably a question that wouldn't relate to the result that they get. Not all the time. So if you're using this to get someone to the right result, you're probably doing it right. It's just more times than not. I guess actually with a personality quiz, this question doesn't usually link up to the result someone's going to get. But that is okay, because when you set up this correlation, you'll just leave all of this blank. So no matter what they pick, it won't, excuse me, it won't impact the result that they get, but you can still set up tagging so you know who answered in which way. And then, like I said, next week, Lisa will show us how to actually set up that tagging in your email marketing system.
Oh, okay. I think I had a question about this when I was setting up my quiz, because I actually have a question like that at the very, very end. And I think it's something that Ashley mentioned in her comments when she looked at my quiz about the pricing, like why I mentioned it. And I initially didn't have a question about how much people would be willing to invest in their joy and wellness. But when I had my sister test it, she was one who suggested that I put it in because I have 4 kind of like avatars. And so when she mentioned it, it kind of was like, okay, this could be nice to segment who is coming to the quiz and where they are and how, and where they, when or where they would invest into joy coaching, for example. But I put multiple responses to, or multiple, I connected each price range to multiple results. So does that skew it at all, or should I take it off? Because I didn't know that was an option.
Yeah, so it could skew it. I think that we might have to look at it. But I mean, does your result have anything to do with the amount of money they're willing to invest in a certain thing, like in your offerings?
No, not really. It was really a segmenting question to help me understand like which group I was associating, but then maybe that's also kind of messed up, like which avatar would be most willing to pay for my services. But then that doesn't really matter because you can't really assume anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I think you could be any avatar and be willing to pay any amount of money. Like those things I think are different. So I probably would, Erica, leave the question so that you get the information that you need, but set it up like this where nothing is connected so that it's not skewing the result. What I thought you were going to say is that you connected each answer to all of the results. You could do that. That would be the same thing as leaving it all blank. but it'd just be more work because you're connecting every single possible, like every combination, right? So for you, Erica, I think, yeah, I would just uncorrelate it so it's blank like this, and then it won't skew the results that they're going to get. And then you might find out from quiz analytics, like, oh, wow, okay, people that are willing to invest are more likely than not this avatar. Like maybe you'll see some sort of connection there, but that way you're not assuming anything and you're not leaving anybody sort of like behind if they're willing to invest and you're going to be following up on that, but they got a different avatar.
Got it. So I should do the tagging or the segmenting on the email side, not the quiz side.
Correct. Yep. Leave the correlations blank.
Okay.
And then next week, we'll show you how to segment the answer. So like, how do you get a tag to appear in your system, or how do you get someone on a specific list based on the way they've answered something? So, you know, okay, all of these people have said they're willing to invest or whatnot.
Oh, okay. Yay. Okay. Thank you.
Perfect. Go for it, Dan.
To piggyback on that, I have one question in my quiz where the correlation matters, but I also want to segment the people based on like the equipment that they have already. Can it be both? You can segment it
For
and
sure.
tag it. Okay.
Yep. And so just in case anyone didn't hear that, because that's a good point, you can any question that you ask that correlates to the results, you can also segment on. Yep. So it doesn't have to be blank like this in order to segment. You can have it set up. I'm just going to go back to show everybody. You can have it set up like this, where the answers correlate to the results, and you set up tagging in your email marketing system so you know who answered what. All right, and then we have research questions. So a lot of times research questions can also be used as segmentation questions, but you don't necessarily have to do that. So I think the biggest difference is with a segmentation question, you're tagging the lead based on what they said, how they responded, so you know who said what. Whereas a research question, you can more so see, okay, of my entire audience, 50% is responding this way, 25% that way, and so on. So you kind of get a breakdown of what people are saying as a whole, rather than getting like, maybe you don't necessarily need to know who answered each way. You just want to know of your overall audience, how are they responding? That's where you can use a research question. But also you can look at the analytics of a research question of like, how overall is everybody responding, and segment on it. So that's where I said these questions can serve multiple purposes. And it's great when they do, because you're able to get more information, get people to the right result, and ask less questions. Dawn, our copywriter, she had a really great story when she was coaching with us about a client that she worked with that added a research question to their quiz and realized that she didn't have an offer for about 25% of her audience. So 25% of her audience was answering this question a certain way, and she didn't really have anything specific to follow up with those people. That's a good chunk of people from her list. So what she did was create an offer for that group. She could then send it out, and she was able to make a lot of money selling that because she was giving her audience what they wanted, or what they needed rather. All right, so what does this look like? So here's an example of a research question that you could, or maybe you don't have to use for segmentation as well. So do you have any past experience working with brand strategists? So this question will help you decide what sorts of resources you might want to create for your people, especially for those of you that maybe don't have a freebie or any resources or offerings created quite yet. You can absolutely use research questions to figure out what it is that your people want, so that you can make the thing that the most people want first. So here we're asking if they have experience working with a brand strategist. Maybe if you were to, maybe you just want to have an overall idea of like how many people in your audience are used to working with a brand strategist or with a coach like this versus not. You could also take it one step further where you're segmenting on this question so you know who answered which way, because maybe if somebody said no, but it's time to try, you could present your offering sooner, like they're more ready to try to work with somebody. Whereas if they answered, I've never been interested, maybe they need more nurturing as to like what a brand strategist is and how it can help them. Or maybe that's a person that you would at some point invite to unsubscribe from your list, because that's not someone that you're willing to, or not willing to, but somebody that you don't want to work with. All right, and then I want to show you what I was talking about in terms of research, how you can see these analytics within Interact, so within your builder. And this is from the quiz that I shared in week 1, Shanti's which type of quiz should you create for your business? She gave us access to the backend and permission to share. So I want to show you what these look like once people start taking your quiz. So the question and answer analytics are only available on the growth plan or above. So if you have that, you'll be able to click on analytics, open up question and answer analytics, and they look like this. So you see this is question 1, and she's asking them how they make how you're making the most money from your offering. So do you offer services, courses, products, or something else? So here she's using this as a research question. So she can see almost all of her audience is selling services, courses, or digital products. So she knows she doesn't need to spend a lot of time talking about e-commerce or products because that doesn't represent a big chunk of her audience. She could segment based on this, right? So maybe if in the future she wanted to create something for e-commerce folks, she would know exactly who needed that versus who was using the other content. But just in terms of research, getting an idea of sort of where people are at, what they need, this tells her she can spend a majority of her time creating content and speaking to people who are offering services, courses, and digital products. And then just something to call out, this is only the analytics of the questions. This isn't where you will see your tagging or your segments. So that will all happen in your email marketing system. And again, we'll go through that next week. We'll actually watch Liesl set that up in the builder next week. And I see a couple of chats in here. Yeah, Claire, I echo you. So Claire wrote in the chat, I upgraded recently and the information I've gotten from it is priceless. I'd highly recommend it. I would too, because especially when you put a quiz out there and you're not seeing the results that you want to see, using the question and answer analytics gives you a really good idea of where people might be falling off within your quiz. So you can see here in the screenshot drop off on the bottom, that will show you how many people left your quiz at that question. So maybe you aren't getting a lot of leads, but that's because everyone's falling off or closing out at a specific question. And then you'll know, okay, I just need to update this one thing first. Maybe you push that question further back into the quiz. Maybe you reword it. Maybe you need to offer different answers, or maybe you scrap the question altogether. But these analytics really help you pinpoint where exactly you want to make changes so that you can get more people through the quiz. If you're on the light plan, you will get the analytics you'll see, and we'll go more into analytics in week 5 as well once we've launched the quizzes. But on the light plan, you get sort of a funnel, like an overview funnel of how many people viewed the quiz, started the quiz, completed the quiz, and then how many leads signed up. So that'll still give you a good idea of okay, my starts to views are low. That would mean people aren't clicking into the quiz. So maybe spend your time or look at updating the cover image or how you're advertising or promoting the quiz. Are you using the right language to call the right people in? Does your quiz title make sense? But if you saw from views to from starts, so people starting your quiz to completions was a really low conversion, that's where these question and answer analytics really come in handy, because you'll know exactly which questions you can work on to get more people through the quiz. And then just sort of a little workaround for those of you who are on the light plan, maybe not ready to upgrade yet. You can see who has answered your question specifically by setting up answer segmentation. So we'll go into that more next week of how to set that tagging up with your email marketing system. But essentially you would create a tag based on the answer somebody selected, and then you could review that data in your email marketing platform. It probably, you'd have to set it up on every single question, or rather every single answer, if you wanted to see all of the data. And I wouldn't suggest doing that just because it's a lot of work and you probably don't need all of the information. So if anybody has questions on which plan they should be on or the analytics that you want to see, let me know. We can talk more about that for sure.
Can I ask a quick question about the tags?
Yeah, sure.
I'm on the base paid plan, not the free one, but whatever one is
Light.
first.
Yep.
Is the tagging and analytics on that plan?
So that's what I was saying, where you'll set up tagging so you can get this information in your email marketing system. You'll get for analytics in the builder, you'll get the overall funnel of like how many people viewed, started, completed, and submitted their email, but you won't see this level of detail of like how specifically the audience is answering each question or the drop off on each question.
Oh, I won't be able to see the question by question breakdown.
Correct.
Okay.
And then Claire says, I have found once you have set up your answers to a question. Oh, Claire, yes. So this would be a great thing if you're all looking for this to be added to the builder to put into that feedback and request section in the quiz collective. It's something that we've talked about before. It's on the roadmap, but we're a super small team. We have one CTO. He contracts out a couple of coders. So product updates we're slower to release them, I guess I should say. But that said, the more noise we hear around something, the more effort we put into building that out. So Claire's correct. If you have when you're creating the questions in the builder, you can reorder questions at any time, but when you set the answers up for each question, you can't reorder the questions. You'd have to like copy and paste and move them around, and that's fine to do. The thing I would note though is, especially if you're using these question and answer analytics, is if you move. So see how it says like C services, B courses. Let's just say I wanted to change this so that courses appeared first and services would be second. The data is going to stick with the C. So like the block that you built it in. So if you just swapped the text, you might want to like refresh your analytics or just make note of the date that you changed it on. So you know, okay, these analytics apply to this answer and not something that was there before. Yes, Claire, add it to the feedback channel in Circle, because like I said, the more noise we hear around a certain feature, the more effort we can put into, or like resources we can put into building that out. Perfect.
Can I ask another quick question that's
sure,
slightly off topic?
No,
you're talking about sending the results to email marketing tools, and yep. Is it possible on one account to send the results to like 2 different email marketing, like send the results from one quiz to one tool and from another quiz to a different tool?
You can. Yep.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
You can, for sure. And also for anybody who might be new or just getting started or between platforms, you can also use the email integration and tech support channel in the quiz collective to get recommendations on different platforms that you should use. Or we can talk about them next week live with Liesel. Specifically, I'm thinking about people who are just starting out. Joanna, our other tech expert, recommends MailerLite because that platform, that email marketing system, gives you access to the most amount of features on the free plan. I think you can have up to 1,000 leads and you still get access to like landing pages and tagging and all of this. Whereas somebody who has a much larger list or is maybe connecting with Kajabi courses or something, she might recommend something totally different. So if you're not sure, if you don't like your email marketing system, or if you're not sure which one to use, hit the experts up in the tech channel because they're really great at making recommendations. They just need to know what you need to use the tool for so they can make the right suggestions. Thank you, Dan. He's gonna +1 Claire's comment. Love it. All right, so any questions about questions? We doing good so far?
I have a question about my questions. I wanted to see if I can run them by you, but I'm happy to wait till the end of the presentation.
So the only other thing that I wanted to go through was branching logic. Let me do this, and then Gabby will go through your questions. And if anybody else wants to share their quiz and go through questions, we can do that too. Branching logic is a question we get asked about a lot, and it can be super complicated, but it also can be completely ignored. You don't have to use branching logic, especially if you're just launching your quiz and trying to keep things simple to start. So branching logic basically lets you change the quiz outcome based on how the lead is answering a certain question. So I always give the example of like, remember the Goosebumps books? That's like, if you want this to happen, go to page 70. But if you want that to happen, go to page 93. So you sort of get to like determine the outcome based on the way that you're answering questions in the quiz. Sort of like, if yes, then X, but if no, if you selected no, then you get Y. So it's sort of like creating multiple quizzes within the same quiz. And I want to give you some use cases that would be good to use branching logic, or I guess the use cases that we see branching logic used most often. But again, if this doesn't relate to you, you absolutely do not have to even touch branching logic. It's just another feature that I wanted to cover. All right, so good times to use this would be when you want to force a specific result. So maybe that no matter how someone answered, let's say you have a set of questions, right? They correlate to your answers, but if somebody picks this one answer on any of those questions, you want to make sure they get a specific result. You can set up branching logic to force the system to say, okay, no matter how you've answered any of those other questions, if you answered this way to this one thing, I'm gonna make sure you get this result. Another great time to use it is for follow-up questions. So let's say you do ask somebody what stage they're at in their business, and then you give them options to say like, just starting out, I'm a couple of years in, or I'm a veteran. You could use branching logic to follow up with those people who picked I'm a couple of years in to like ask a follow-up question of like, how successful is your business? Because people who are a veteran or just getting started probably don't know the answer to that yet. So you wouldn't want to ask them something. So just like, again, like tailors the quiz experience based on what the people need. So it's just asking like, if you said, I'm a couple of years in, you can set up branching logic to ask a follow-up question of like how someone feels about their success or the status of their business, so that you'll know, maybe you'll need to know that so that you could help them grow. Or maybe if it wasn't successful, they would get different resources than if they were a couple years in, but were successful. And then Claire, I see you said I only applied branching logic for my last question as the earlier questions were really only info gathering. Yeah, that's fine. So branching logic can just be used, like you could set it up so that it just asks that one follow-up question, or it can be used to make like completely separate quiz experiences. And that's where I think it gets not overcomplicated, but that's where it can get complicated when you're creating like totally separate quiz experiences based on how someone's starting out answering the questions. And then another good example of when someone might want to use branching logic is if you have a diverse audience that maybe would want different offers. So let's say you sell luggage and you offer that luggage in different materials, different colors, and different sizes. You could use branching logic to get so specific that you know the color, the material, and the size that they want, so that that appears on the results page, and they could super easily just click a link to maybe buy the product or something like that. So just to recap on branching logic, you don't have to use it. And when you correlate your questions and answers within the tool, so what I showed you earlier, either setting up the scoring or sort of connecting those dots, correlating the answers to the results, the system is going to the system is going to give the person a result based on that. So this branching logic, and I say that because some people think they have to set up branching logic so the system calculates the result they're going to get. Branching logic is an additional tool that you can use to get more specific or sort of like tailor the quiz experience for like follow-up questions, or like changing it up based on the way someone's answering something. Any questions on that, on branching logic? Anyone curious if they should be using it or not?
I could jump in on that second part.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I'm at the finish line, so this will go out in the form that it's in. But because some of the things correlate, I could see. So again, I help entrepreneurs create their own videos. So someone could be brand new, not have any equipment, any idea, but be really eager. And someone could have some gear, but not know how to use it. I could see, are you one of these things? And then not showing them any other stuff. Because if you already have gear, we don't need to have these other conversations. So I think mine works the way it is now, but I'd be really interested in if it would be worth down the road doing one that is broken apart like that because of the exact work that I do.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good example, Dan. So in Dan's current quiz, I believe you have a question that asks about what gear they have, and there's an answer for everybody to select something. Like it's, I only have a smartphone, I have absolutely nothing, or I have like all the top-notch stuff that I could possibly use. That I think I agree that works for your first version. Get that out, see kind of like how people react, what they do. But I also know that your audience, that's something that they really like to learn from you. That's a big topic for you. So you could use maybe branching logic of like, I have a few things. Let's just say they click the option of like, yeah, I have a few things. You could use branching logic to say like, select all that apply. I have a video camera, I have a microphone, I have, you know, so you could get more specific that way. Yeah, and you would need branching logic to do that. But I agree, for simplicity and just to kind of like see how your audience reacts to this, I'd keep it like you have it. Cool. And Ellen asked in the chat, how is everyone promoting their quiz? That's a conversation that we can have for sure. We'll also go much more into that in week 5. So once you publish the quiz, different ways that you can share and promote it. All right, Gabby, I'm going to go through the recap of segmentation and question strategies, and then we'll go into your quiz and we can look at the different questions that you're asking, kind of review those and give feedback on that. And same for anybody else who wants to share, that works as well. So number 1, segmentation can be super simple. Remember to segment based on what you're offering and what you think is relevant about your audience. And you can segment based on the results somebody gets and or the way that they're answering questions. So you can figure out the result that they're getting, the way they're answering certain questions, or both. And then number 2, there are 3 types of questions that you can use within your quiz: the engagement, the segmentation, and research. And you want to use a combination of these question types to make sure people don't have to think too hard or work too hard when they're taking your quiz. I said this earlier, especially on question 1. The further somebody gets into your quiz, the more likely they are to complete it. So if you do have something that's like harder to answer or maybe a little bit more thought-provoking, try to put that towards the end of the quiz, because they're much more likely to answer it then if it's easier to like get in, because they'll see like, okay, I only have 2 more questions left. Let me just answer this so I can be done with it, you know, kind of thing. And then you can also sandwich harder to answer questions in between lighter or more fun questions, just to keep the quiz taking experience light, fun, and engaging. And then always make sure you're asking things that you want to know about your audience, and try to relate those questions to your quiz topic, because again, if something is too far-fetched, they could likely leave the quiz if it just doesn't relate, or they can't see the correlation of like, wait, I took this quiz for a certain reason, why are they asking me that? And then number 3, it is super worth it to have access to your question analytics, especially as you get this live and you want to increase engagement or like increase the number of leads you're getting. You want people to complete the quiz. So your analytics can teach you more about your audience as a whole, like we saw with Shanti's quiz, like looking at the different, like how many people are responding in total, like from your total audience a certain way. But you can also use it in segmentation, so tagging within your system. And it definitely will help you see where people might be falling off of your quiz or stopping to take your quiz, so that you can fix that and get people all the way through their funnel. And that again relates to, we talked in week 1 about the quiz being an iterative process. So the analytics can really help you make the right changes to get more leads through the quiz and onto your list. All right, Gabby, do you want to share any of the questions you have? You can share screen, you can tell us out loud, whatever's easier for you.
Yeah, I think it's easier to just share my screen.
Perfect. Let me stop
I
sharing.
personally can't follow along when somebody's talking without any text, you know?
Yes, perfect. Greg, you can
Okay.
absolutely go after Gabby, and Claire.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay, Claire's sharing ideas to share. Love it.
Okay, so yeah, I guess I don't know. I kind of like my questions, but and which one to put at the end.
Gabby, I can see that you're sharing your screen, but I just see it's all black. Is everyone else seeing that, or you can see her screen? Yeah, we're just seeing a black screen.
Zoom just crashed.
That's fun.
Okay, can you hear me though?
We can hear you. Yes.
Okay, let's see if Zoom crashes this time. Does it work?
I'm still not seeing it.
Then
Do you want to share your quiz link in the chat and I can share for you?
I could just restart and then join after.
Okay.
And then
Do that.
ask my
Let's do
question next.
Greg's questions first, and then we'll come back to you, Gabby. That works.
Sure.
All right. Is it easiest if I just send you the link to my my quiz?
Either one. You can send me the link and I'll share screen, or you can share screen from your side. It might be easier, Greg, if you share screen. Last week when we did this, people were making updates like as we chatted through them. So I won't be able to edit anything on my side. So if you share, we can make changes as we go, kind of thing.
Let me pull it up.
Yep.
All right. And share. And by the way, I run basically like a tutoring company, and I'm trying to also expand into educational online programs. So that's what my business is about.
Cool. And before you start, Greg, can you tell us what is it when somebody finishes the quiz? What's going to happen? What do you want them to do, or what are sort of like the call to action prompts that you're going to give?
Right now, I'm really just trying to build my list. So I just wanted to sign up for my email list.
Okay. So I just want to read this real quick. So what's your child success accelerator? I'm curious. I know I don't have kids, but I'm curious. Do parents or people taking this quiz know what that means?
I don't know. I was just thinking like success accelerator. So, I mean, I haven't talked specifically with parents about that.
So that's just something to think about, so that again, you're getting the right people in to take this quiz. If people don't, like I personally, and this just might be because I don't have kids and I'm not worried about getting anyone through school or tutoring or anything like that, I don't know what this means. So I'm going to read the description next, and this is not just for Greg, this is for everybody. Using the language that your customers use is always most effective in getting the right people in. Because if they knew, like if I looked at this and it was like, do you want your child to be super successful in school, let's just say, then I'd be like, well, yes, I do. Maybe I should take this quiz to make sure they're getting all the help that they need or something. So I think this works for now, for sure, Greg, but just keep that in mind. If you're not seeing enough people click into your quiz, it could be that they just don't relate to that terminology.
Okay.
And then I know you asked for advice on your questions. We'll get there, I promise. But I just want to say one more thing on the description to sort of tighten this up and make it super clear on what they're going to get out of this. I think you can remove the different results, because sometimes when you give people the results that they could get ahead of time, they just assume they know which one they are. So
Okay.
they don't necessarily feel like they need to take the quiz because they're like, oh, that's the one that I'm going to get, so I'm not going to spend time doing this, when they very well could be wrong, right?
Yeah.
So I think it could simply just be take this 2-minute quiz to find out which of the 4 success profiles your child has. And then also maybe I would add like why is that important? Like, why is it good to know which success profile your child has? What is that going to change, or what will that do?
It's mainly to like increase their academic success, I would say.
Is it too harsh to say, take this 2-minute quiz to find out how successful your child is in academics?
How successful?
Is that not?
Well, the results are just like the different types. So there's kind of like leader types, and then more introverted, nerdy types, and then like the extroverted, artistic type. So like that's what
Okay.
the end results are.
Okay. And then by finding out, like getting these tips to accelerate and maximize their future success, is that like helping them to find the right job or like college, or?
It's to help them Yeah, I think just like play to their strengths so they can amplify their academic success in school. So I'm targeting like school age children and high school kids.
Cool. All right. I think I would say that exactly how you just said it to me. So maybe we have to watch the replay because now I already forgot what you said. But something like, take this quiz. And I don't even think that you necessarily need to say which of the 4 success profiles they are. But like take this 2-minute quiz to find out.
Like how to maximize your kids' academic success or something along those lines.
Yeah, yes, that. And it would be even better if you said so that they can blank. Land the job of their dreams, get on the honor roll, like whatever it is that these parents want their kids to achieve.
Okay, so that'd be straight A's.
Yeah. So then that works. Cool.
Okay.
All right. So if you want, do you want to just click through? And I'm seeing the chat blow up. So let's just look through this really quick. Claire shared her quiz in the chat, so feel free to check it out. Okay, cool. We're talking about sharing. Perfect. All right. So Greg, if you want to, you can click into the questions section, or if there's specific questions you want us to look at, whatever you want feedback on. And also, I love when everybody participates here. So if anybody sees something or has an idea, especially if you have students in school, feel free to unmute, pop in the chat, and help Greg out. So it's a bright and sunny Saturday afternoon. I think, Greg, I would just say child as opposed to son or daughter because it just is that much less to read. It takes up that much less space, or that little, however you would say that. Is your child, and then can you just scroll down so we can see the answers? So they're locked in a room playing video games, hanging out with friends, practicing a musical instrument, at the park kicking the soccer ball. And these answers, I'm assuming, relate to the result that they would get.
Yeah.
Cool. Is there any reason that you would want to know this information, like the way someone answered this specifically?
Not this question in particular.
Okay, cool. I like this one. I think it's pretty easy to answer. I might, and this is something that you'll probably just have to figure out once you launch the quiz. We're talking about academic success, and the first question is, what are they doing on a Saturday? I can see how it would relate, especially reading these answers, but this might be a question that you move further down in the quiz, just so it feels more relatable, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Greg, I do have one thing to say about just the coloring, because I glimpsed at it, and then I like actually started to read I don't know, is that blue on blue? Like as far as the font color and the background?
Yeah, I think it is a dark blue on blue.
It's a little hard to read. Just like, I feel like that may be all that I would have to say right now. But I'm so excited to take the quiz.
That's a good call out too, because if people can't read, obviously, right? Like this could be a font style that you're using, or maybe a color combination. Keep in mind like inclusivity of people who might be colorblind or just can't see as well. Especially like, I mean, I guess are these kids, sorry, Greg, are they in like high school, elementary school? Like, I guess how old would their parent? You don't even have to answer this, but just consider how old your leads are that might be taking the quiz, because if they're older, you want to make sure that it's super legible, because if they can't read it, they will exit the quiz. And I also want to add, Greg, if these are your colors, like your brand colors, what I might do is pop this quiz into the branding and design channel. Francine is really awesome with like playing around with color palettes. She's not going to change your brand colors, but she'll give you suggestions on ways that you can use your brand colors so that everything is super legible.
Okay.
Cool.
Just jump in real quick and let Greg know that I just went through this exact same process a couple weeks ago, and I'm so glad I did. So bravo for showing us all, because that takes a little bit of bravery to do. And mine ended up so better just because I was like, everyone tell me.
Yeah.
These are loving critiques, we promise.
Absolutely. Okay. So yeah, then the next question.
So this one I feel like might be a really great first question, just because it's super relatable to the topic and I feel like it's pretty easy to answer.
Okay.
And so we talked about earlier, like not being able to reorder the answers. If you, Greg, over on the left side where those like 6 dots are in the questions like panel, you can drag that question up if you wanted to move it. So you can rearrange the order of your questions. What we were talking about earlier is you can't rearrange the order of the answers. So where he has like English or writing, music or art, you'd have to like copy or like delete out and retype in those things.
Okay.
Cool, but I think this is good. I like the pictures.
Child.
When a homework assignment is due, your child completes it right away. Get it done. There's nothing to worry about. That's the time. When you say, what do you mean completes it? Is that somebody who just doesn't do their homework?
Right.
Okay, that I think it makes sense to me, but it took me a minute. Like, I don't know. What does everybody think? Is that clear on what he's trying to say there?
It's just those extra couple words. I hate copy so much. So it could be just, like, what do you mean when they complete it, and still get that joke across? Yeah.
I like the joke. Yeah. Or like, you could even do something funny like that. But okay, perfect. Yeah, that works. And then this, I'm assuming, also gets them to the right result, correct?
Yeah, I think pretty much all these are connected to the result in some way or another.
Cool. Okay. Is it one answer per result? Do you know?
For most of the questions, I think there's 1 or 2 where I had one question, one answer to lead to multiple.
Okay.
Jackie, do you recommend adding these, clever add-ons to the question like Greg has done?
I don't think I think it depends on your audience. So if you're talking about a super serious topic, probably not. But I mean, this is a serious topic. It's your child's education, right? But it makes the quiz taking experience more fun, especially like, I feel like, I mean, I'm kind of thinking of my mom taking this right now and like answering for my brother. I think it's funny. And I think it makes the quiz experience a little bit lighter, even though it's a serious topic, right? I think that they do help. This, for the same reason you could use images or GIFs, adding in a little humor. I love when I see in quiz feedback a little bit of humor in there, because I just like get more excited about like, ooh, what's coming next kind of thing. So yeah, but I also think there's a time and a place for it too. So you absolutely don't have to do that, but I think it's fun.
I have a little feedback about that, and I'm only basing it on some feedback that I got, because I personally like that too with quizzes where there's like a little extra, because I feel like it kind of paints the story and tells, like, it colors the experience. But when I was sharing it for feedback, mine personally, the feedback I got was it made it take too long. But being that Greg's audience is parents or our parents, they may actually be like, what's this? And it may actually help them understand or describe the situation with their child better. So I do think that, oh, maybe, I don't know, once the quiz is published, because you could make copies, right? So maybe, Greg, if you do kind of like an A/B test of a shorter version where you take off the like the filling, the color bits for one, to see if that works, depending on what the results are and how much people complete from the analytics and stuff. But I see both sides too, but I think it also just does depend on the personality and the people who are receiving the quiz.
And your brand voice too. So like, if your brand voice is light and bubbly and fun, then I think it totally fits. But like Erica's saying, there's also, I think, brands and brands and quizzes that don't need this type of humor. So it's something, again, it depends, right? That's my answer for everything almost. But it's something that would be really great to try out if you're thinking about it, Ellen.
Yeah, I think my brand is mostly me, and I'm joking a lot, so that's why I make it fun.
And Dan said something in the chat too. It keeps parents in the mindset of their child. So I just think I think in this case, it's really fitting for your audience.
Okay, then here's one on just like a make-believe class.
Cool. One thing I want to suggest, Greg, is I like this answer. If you click on use image answer, so it's like right under the post-it light bulb thing there, that might be a fun way. Go ahead and click it. It won't change anything on your, you can go back right back to how you had it. You could remove the top image and like insert specific images based on the answer. And that's just like, it gives the quiz a different look so that you have like again, it gets people engaged because it's not like the same look on every single page. So I'm not saying that you have to do it here. It sort of maybe would make sense to me because you could have somebody cooking, you could have somebody doing like something with the robot, like tech, social studies or something. And also that helps people like me who don't love to read relate to a picture versus reading text through the whole thing. So not saying that you have to do this here, Greg, but just because I saw like 4 questions in a row of having the cover image, that could be something that you play around with just to like keep people's minds fresh and exciting as they go through.
Okay.
So if you click back on use text answers, it'll go back to exactly how you had it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I can keep that in mind. Okay. Just my child.
See, like I like the howl that like brings in more of the humor.
Okay.
Also because like, and I don't mean any disrespect by this, but like maybe it's a little sad if your kid doesn't have a lot of friends, or maybe you just move school districts or something and there's not a lot of people to hang out with. So it just keeps the quiz light, even though that like might be a sad thing for a parent to click on, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So they're a lone wolf, mostly has online friends they play video games with. Yeah, see, like that's funny. I can hear them shouting on the headsets. That's my nephews for sure. I mean, best friend or core group of friends. I'm just rereading the last 2. A main best friend or core group of friends they spend most of their time with, has a close group of friends that will hang out with everyone and anyone. Okay, I think I can see. I was rereading it because I wanted to make sure there was enough of a difference there between those 2 answers. I think there is. I don't know, any feedback on the call? Do you guys feel like you would know which one to click between those 2?
I just think maybe not everyone would know what a schmoozer is. I don't know, maybe like a social butterfly, but then I don't know if that like leans to one like gender identity than the other. And kind of like the Beatles. I mean, everybody knows who the Beatles are, right? I like it.
So.
And so that's something
I think I
too,
got
like
it.
yeah, you could leave it like this, like no need to do extra work, right? Leave it like this, put it out there. And then if people aren't answering this question, if they're falling off here, or if they feel, maybe you feel like they're getting the wrong result, you could always come back and play around with this. So I think this one works as well.
What you could do in the last part is just take out has a close group of friends and just make it will hang out with everyone and anyone, a real schmoozer.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Okay. All right. Great.
Cool. What is this telling you? I mean, I can see how this is going to relate to the result that someone would get. What is this telling you about the student? Just sort of like the for lack of better words, like left brain, right brain, sort of like where their interests lie and strengths.
Yeah, just kind of their personality type, what they're pulled
Okay.
towards.
Okay, cool.
Can I say, Greg, I wish that things like this, like quizzes like this existed when I was a kid. And if I would have taken it, I feel like not that I would have taken a different path in life, because thank God I found my way to it, but just a lot sooner rather than like questioning myself. I feel like it would have helped my parents understand kind of like what my goals and aspirations were. So I'm really, really excited that you have this, like, and that you're putting it out into the world. I'm going to take it for my kids when they're old enough, but by then, I don't know, maybe computers will be different.
Thank you. All All right, try and get through the rest of these.
I think this one works too. What I'm thinking now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you have 10 questions, which, like I said, that's sort of the sweet spot, 7 to 10 questions. Some of these, it's not that the question feels repetitive, but, and maybe this is just me because I'm always working in quizzes, but some of these feel like I can sort of start to see the personalities, like the different, like I kind of know which personalities go with the questions before, kind of thing. So I wonder if you need to ask this many questions to get them to the right place. Again, you can definitely leave it like this, see how it goes when you launch, and then remove questions, rearrange, or make updates then. But that's just something to think about for you and for everybody else when you go to write your questions, or if you already have questions and you go to review them. Do you really need to ask this many? The least amount of questions that get the people to the right result and also give you the information that you need to follow up in the right way is what you want to aim for, because that would make the lead do the least amount of work. The least questions they have to answer, the more likely they are to get through the quiz.
Okay. Yeah.
So I guess maybe, Greg, this question felt like the first question that we looked at of like, what are you doing on a Saturday? Now they're at a party kind of thing. So just something to think about. You definitely don't have to take it out. You can totally leave it in here. But just something to think about as you see what people do when they take your quiz.
Okay.
I like your copy because it really feels like it feels relatable. It feels like a real person is saying these things. Yeah, same thing on this one. And not this question like versus another one. I would just like really think about how many questions do you need to ask to get someone to the right place if these things all just correlate to the personality that this child or student has.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, I can definitely shorten it.
Okay. I like this one too. What's your last question?
And last one.
Love it. Okay, yeah, I like this. I think as we're going through that, maybe the one thing that's missing for me is, and this again is coming from like not a parent, but from like a quiz strategy perspective, is asking something that sort of gets the parent to think about the future. So, and of course I can't think of an example, but like, maybe even a question of like, does your child know what they want to be when they grow up? Just like getting them to think about the future, because I think that will be helpful for you, especially when you go to try to get them to convert, whether that be signing up for tutoring or maybe just like getting onto your email list to start. That'll start to get them to think about the future and all of the skill sets and things that they need, like remind them of why the kid needs to get A+ in school, so that they can have this better life, or like, I don't know, get the land, like the job that they need, or at least like maybe the parent just wants to know they'll be able to like let their kid leave the nest and be comfortable without having to like support them with everything or something. But I just think something that sort of like gets them to think about the future would be helpful in terms of a question, will be helpful in here. And maybe that relates to a result that they're going to get. Maybe it doesn't. But I think that'll be really helpful when you try to convert them into like taking the next call to action, especially when you get further along in your business and you're getting people to sign up for courses or whatever it is you're going to offer. Because if they don't think about that, then they don't recognize the need for this now as much, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's what I would look at with your questions. I think that they're spot on. I can see how they would get me to the right result. We don't even need to look at your results, but we can if you want. But yeah, just something. So like, just maybe remove a couple of the questions that feel similar or that you don't necessarily need to know. And then add something in that sort of gets the parent to think about the future, and making sure that their child will stay well in school so that they can achieve, whatever it is that they're wanting to achieve.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you so much for all the advice, everyone.
Yeah, great job, Greg. Woo. And I'm just curious, your results pages are written?
Yes, they are.
Perfect. So next week you'll be able to integrate and you'll be good to go.
Yeah. And then I already launched this too. So I have a little.
Oh, perfect.
So it's doing all right. It's good.
Awesome. Love it. What we can do, Greg, in week 5 is look back at your analytics, and then maybe we can review some look and see how people are responding and whatnot, and then see, okay, in terms of like version 2, what are the things that you want to update so that you can get people to the right place, subscribing to your offerings, whatever it is.
Okay, amazing. Thank you.
Very good. Gabby, are you able to share your screen?
Good question. Let's find out. Can you see it? It's a Google Doc.
Yes, I can see it.
Yay. Okay. Yeah, I think you answered that question last time. So
can you just zoom in a little bit?
Oh yeah, I have it. Let me actually move this to my smaller screen. I think that'll be easier. Okay. So I don't like having to go back in software to change things. So I always do it in a Google Doc first, everything.
Yeah, and actually that's a really great.
Oh, that's the wrong
calendar. Yeah. That's a really great point though, Gabby. So for anybody who is writing their quiz in a Google Doc or in some type of document outside of the builder, I think that's a great idea. It just helps you get like the purpose of your quiz down without getting distracted by all the fun things you can do in the builder. But if you're doing that, as you write out the answers to your questions, maybe put in parentheses or do something that tells you what you're going to correlate that answer, like how you're going to correlate that answer to a result, so that when you go to put all of this in the builder, it's super easy to just like connect the dots. You don't have to go back and be like, wait, what was I thinking to connect or whatnot? It just makes it easier and faster.
Yeah, it's way easier. And you could add like notes, like how you want to format them and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So my results, I have 5 different. It's the boudoir, which are boudoir photography style. And I have dark and moody, high key, nudescapes, classic, and modest. So these are my questions. This should be a readable size, right?
Yep, this is good for me. So I see, what outfit do you feel most confident in? And I'm just curious, this is a personality quiz, so you're correlating the answer to the result, right?
Yeah, so the result that I would correlate it is right next to the response.
Okay, perfect. Got it. Cool. I like this. We talked about sort of like the outfits and like the need to feel confidence, and that's like what your ideal client is looking for. So I think I feel like this question would be pretty easy to answer on number 1. It's fun. It gets you thinking about like what you would look like when you get to the photography or to the set. So yep, I like that. And then I think the same thing for can you just scroll down so we can see number 1 and 2 together?
Can you not see number 1 and 2 right now?
There. Now I can.
Oh, together. Okay.
Sorry, I just want to see because
I could also space these out so they're not.
No, that's fine. That's fine. What I just wanted to do was compare what you have answer-wise in number 1 to number 2, so that just to make sure that it feels different enough.
Oh, it's totally different. It's what you're wearing on top and what you're wearing underneath.
Okay. Oh, I see. Oh, duh. Okay. All right. Love it. So yeah, same thing, because this is like what your audience is wanting to feel, that they're getting themselves like to think about what they would look like. Okay,
this
cool.
is also a good research question for me, the what type of lingerie, because if I want to be building a client closet in the future, I can see what people
yeah. So I'm curious, question 1, is that giving you, what is that telling you about your client other than getting them to the right result?
So I didn't
Do you
think
use that for
about
anything?
when I was writing these questions, I did these a couple weeks ago. And when I was writing those, I wasn't thinking about what this question would give me for the client. So as we've been going through today, not a lot of the questions give me a lot of information. They're more just kind of like thinking of classic like personality test questions I've seen before, and ones that can
Okay.
be somewhat related to like, you know, somebody's everyday life and feeling confidence and having fun and stuff like that.
Okay, that makes
That
sense.
does not really give me anything specifically relevant to, I think this question, what type of lingerie do you feel sexiest in, is probably, maybe even what kind of art do you like, are probably the most, and pick a color, could be the most related to.
Okay, and you have 8 questions total?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe, I'm totally just saying this, I'd probably just start with what you have and then see how your audience responds to it. But maybe if you're not getting anything out of question 1, and without question 1 they'd still get to the right result, you could scrap it so that there's just one less question for them to get through.
Okay.
But at the same time, I don't think it's anything super hard to answer, so I think you're fine to leave it in there to start. Which 2 words would your friends or partner use to describe you? Yeah, I like that. I like this one. I like this one. I don't have anything to say about it. What I was just gonna say is that, again, you're like where I was telling Greg, what could you ask to sort of like get the parents to think about their future? This is sort of getting them to like get out of their own head and think about like what their network, like their circle, thinks about them, which might be good for your audience, I feel.
Well, that's one of the goals of what I do. So get them out of their own head.
Yes. This one is interesting. Number 4, does this do you think this would skew the answer? Like where somebody wants to go based on their style?
This one was the one that I feel like is probably, if I was going to cut a question, it would be this one.
Okay.
Some of them are, because some of these are such like stylish, like there's such specific things like a clothing optional beach. Yeah, I'm going to recommend the nude set to them. Or
right.
Like Paris. Yeah, it's classic. Sure.
The
other one's not so much.
I think if you decide to leave this question, maybe I like the image answer, so that I feel like you could choose an image that relates to like the vibe that they're going with. But maybe you want to add just a little bit of context. So it's like New York City, like, I don't know, I don't sleep at night, or like I'm out all night, like, you know, like city that never sleeps or something like that, because it's dark and moody, like something at night. Paris. Yeah, I think maybe just adding a little bit of context.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I could say like, you know, give me the grunge.
Yeah, something like that.
I want to feel like a princess.
Yeah. Because really anybody from any style might want to go anywhere. So this is a question that could potentially skew your results, but adding context to put them in the frame of like, oh, New York City, I don't want the grunge. Like, let me pick something that like the context that applies to me more. So just something to think about if you decide to leave that question. And then what kind of art do you like? What kind of music do you like? Maybe the same thing for these questions where you add a little bit of context. And then you got a comment in the chat. New York City is not grunge to a New Yorker, but camping is. So that's, that's a good point though. It's a good point.
I live in Colorado and my clients are located here. So it's a totally different perspective on those.
Okay. So that's where market research really comes in handy. You know who you're speaking to, so you know how they're going to react to these questions. Where if there's someone on the other side of the world took it, it could totally get skewed results. They could totally get skewed results because they would be answering from like a different mindset. That's where adding context to these questions sometimes comes in handy. I don't think so much with the the type of art, like I feel like the music and the art question could work just like this. So maybe just like get your quiz out there and see what people are saying. But I guess like more specifically, I'm thinking when you relate to, not you, Gabby, but like anybody on their quiz relates to a TV show or a character or a singer specifically or a band. If people don't know who that is, then they don't know how to answer the question. So adding context sort of gives them an out of like, okay, I don't know what she's talking about here, but
Wait,
I
so that's
understand.
exactly why I didn't do that. Like I could put an artist name here, and I hate getting those questions because I'm like, I don't listen to any of these artists, but I figured putting genres, like this
That's
is the
why
kind
I
of question
think,
I always wish I would get instead of who do you listen to more, Taylor Swift or I don't know, Justin Bieber, neither.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think, I mean, I feel like people will understand what all of these options are. So they'll be able to answer. But like where you have material art, texture stuff like macrame, wall
That's
hanging,
why it's an image answer. It's the images
and
that are
that'll
going to be
help too.
speaking for these ones.
Perfect. Okay. I like it. And then a color. Last question. What would you rather do next Friday night? Yeah, I like this. I can totally see how this gets people to the right place. Tell me again, it's just women that you work with?
Yeah.
And what is like their ultimate goal here? Like what is the like what sort of like how do they want to feel, or how are you going to make them feel when they work with you, or like how are you going to help them?
The one word answer is confidence, and the slightly longer answer is it's an experience. They're totally guided through it. It's a time when they can re-examine the way that they see themselves, their relationship with their body image, and how that's affecting the way that they show up in the world and to their purpose. So by going through this kind of experience where you're taken out of your own perspective and you're taken out of your head and you're seeing a side of yourself that you've maybe never seen before, it can be a really powerful experience for a lot of people.
So that long answer that you just gave is going to be so great in your results pages, maybe even in email follow-ups. I wonder if you want to add a question about their current confidence level. With that, I mean, I feel like that might be something that you would want to know about your people, even if it doesn't relate to a specific result that they're going to get, but you could tag, like you could segment your leads based on this. So you would know, okay, this person is not confident at all. I need to nurture them a little bit more to get the confidence to get to this place. Whereas somebody who's super confident and like self-love, they're all about it. They might be like that much more ready to, like, they might be ready to work with you already, but I can see like people from different styles could be in all different confidence levels. So I don't know that this one is a question that you would want to relate to the result, but I think it would be really helpful for you to know in following up with people.
Yeah, I could just not relate it, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Well, I mean, I don't think it would be very useful for me to follow up because I only have the basic plan, like the first paid plan, because I won't be able to see what people select, right?
So what you can do, and this is what we'll do next week with Liesl, is let's just say, I think the only question that you would want to segment off of in this list would be their confidence level. Everything else is doing the work to get them to the right result. So you'll be able to tag in your email marketing system the result that they got, so you know like what their vibe or what their style is. But you could also tag them based on how they're answering this confidence level question. So let's just say you wanted to follow up with some like all the people who are lacking confidence. You could pull that list in your email marketing system and send it. What you won't be able to see on the light plan is a total breakdown of the way everybody has answered that question in the Interact analytics.
Oh, but you can see the breakdown in your email if you're tagging by this question.
Correct.
Okay, so after watching the presentation today and going through these questions, I feel like it'd be helpful to switch out maybe even like a couple of the different questions for something that's a little bit more, since people do know this is a question about boudoir photography, maybe asking about confidence level, but maybe also asking about like, what's your biggest body image struggle? Or I don't know if that's too negative, but like, something more related to body image as it's for boudoir photography.
I think that you could ask that. I guess I don't know that would get people to the right result, right? Because you could be any style, but have totally different opinions on your self-image.
Actually, it could affect the style, because it's like somebody who is like very accepting of their body image is more, you know, tends to be more willing to do a nude shoot versus somebody who, or like a high key or something, whereas somebody who has a little bit more insecurity tends to go more on the classic or modest end.
Yeah, I mean, so you could do that, or you could leave it like you could segment based on this. I wonder, I would really just think about, what do you want to know about these people, about these leads that are coming in?
But that's not helping me if I'm not on the plan where I can actually see those results.
But you remember, you can tag, if you're going to want to follow up with these people, then
Just
you
one
could tag.
question.
No, you can tag as many answers. Like, let's say you have 9 questions here, you could set up tagging for as many questions or answers rather,
Really?
because you're tagging based on the answer as you want. Yes.
Oh, so I could potentially tag the results to any of these. Like, what's your favorite outfit? You can tag, I can tag that.
Yeah,
in
you
my
could.
email.
And actually, that one might be a good one for you to tag, because if you go to create this like wardrobe style thing later, you would know who would want each category, you know, if you're tagging based on how they're answering that.
Yeah.
And I want to call out too for everybody what Gabby's doing right now of like can tag subscribers by this question. This is, and like how she has the answers, the results rather, next to each answer. That's what I was talking about earlier, whereas if you're doing the same thing, building the quiz outside of the builder, this is super helpful for you when you go to put it in. It's just like connecting the dots and setting things up. You don't have to go back and think about, what am I segmenting on? Do I need to know this? Which answer did this relate to? So perfect notes here. But yeah, to answer your question, Gabby, on the light plan, on any of the paid plans, you can segment, or rather you can tag your leads based on the results, any of the answers, or both.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Where is the, awesome, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Ellen, did I see, was it you in here that you wanted to share your quiz?
Can I show? Yeah, because mine looks different than Greg, so I hope I'm in the right here. Can you see?
I can see, yes.
This is, mine looks like this. It doesn't, I can't make
All
any
right.
edit. Anything.
Okay, so go top right, click close. What you're looking at right now is the preview mode, which is totally fine. You're definitely in the right place. Do you see the close button a little more to the right? There it is. So now click on edit in line with your quiz, and that's going to open up the view that Greg was on. Right there.
You see how there's no, it's dead in here. This is what I was talking about. So you're saying do something on Canva.
Yeah, what I would do, especially if you want this image of like this image of this girl with the white space, I would upload that to Canva. Then you can use like your brand text or whatever and add things in there if you want to. I'm just curious.
Upload her to Canva. Okay.
Yeah, so like just saying, if you wanted to keep this image of her and then just add text to the space to the right, then you could upload this picture into Canva and then use Canva. It's a design tool, so you can add text, pictures. Okay, perfect. So you can add that in. You don't have to use this picture of this girl. It's just that if you wanted to keep her to the left with text to the right, then you could do all of that in Canva. And we have, did I tell you, we have a Canva session coming up next week.
Oh,
so you can do all of that right there with us.
So this would just be, if I went to edit cover, I would just get a bunch of options.
Yeah, so if you hit replace image, it's going to remove the one that you have in there. So I don't know that you want to do that now, but if you wanted to go change it, you would click replace image, and then that search thing of like all the Unsplash stock photos and the GIFs would appear.
And is this saved anywhere? Do you know this image?
Someone built the quiz for you, right? I would ask them where they got this from, because I'm not sure if they got it.
They're gone.
Oh. It might have come from Unsplash. They might have gotten it from somewhere else. I'm really not sure.
Okay. So
I'm just curious, what are you wanting to write in that white space?
Like an introduction, take this quiz so you can find out, how to ask for more and get what you were worth or something like that.
Yeah, so you can do that for sure. Also consider, see where it says type description here in like the grayed out text, you can type that in there and then replace this image to be something that's more full screen. So rather than her just tucked away in a corner, you could pick something that's like the full block of text in color, people's faces, whatever you're looking for.
And can you do that? See, every single one of my pages is the same.
Do you mean results pages or the questions?
Well, I'm sorry, I don't understand what that means.
So if you click over on the left menu, so this is your cover page. If you over on the left click on questions, it's going to drop down all the questions that you ask. So do me a favor, this is the first question, just click on the next few questions there. Okay, so if you want to add photos to this, you can.
Yeah, I'd like to.
Okay, so see where it says show question image at the top right under when in a group meeting?
Mm-hmm.
Here's where you click on edit. And then you can just search for, I don't know, say group meeting, maybe you could type in.
That bold woman.
Yeah, for sure. And so then you can use any of these, or up at the top, you can use a GIF as well. Those are both options.
Okay.
And then the other thing I want to show you, so you can play around with that. The other thing I want to show you is underneath that big image, it says use image answers, a little right there. So if you click on that, that lets you choose a specific image for each of the answers. That's what I was showing Greg earlier. And I want to show you one more. So you do it the same way, you click edit, and then you could search the same directory of stock photos and GIFs there.
Wow, okay.
And then I just want to show you one more thing. If you up at the top hit hide question image. So sorry, it's right under when in a group meeting under the question, it says hide question image. So like, sorry,
Here?
like right in,
oh, here,
in the
yeah,
edit,
yeah, yeah.
right there. Yeah. So click on that. And that will be, so it's the images only appear on the questions. I think sometimes when I see an image question and then images on each of the answers, it can be a lot, or it can be like confusing maybe. So that's just something that you can play with. You can have one image for the question, or you can have multiple images, one for each answer, or both if you choose to do that.
All right, can you take a quick look at my questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So my
remind
question.
Remind us, Ellen, real quick, you who are we speaking to and what do you want them to do when they finish the quiz?
We're talking to, I'm using it as a lead gen, and when they're done with the quiz, they actually get a personality assessment that drives them to a webinar. So there is a value after the quiz, and I'm trying to determine what are they able to ask for and get what they are worth.
Cool.
So it's like a personality. It started out as a personality assessment, but it really comes down to, are you a risk taker or not?
Okay.
But that's not the messaging. The messaging is about my whole course is about getting what you're worth and negotiating for a win-win strategy.
Okay.
So I know there's a lot going on. My messaging is
it's cool. I like it. And I think if you click back up to the cover, we'll definitely go through your questions, but if you go back up to the cover in the quiz description, that's where I would say what you just said. Take the quiz to leverage your negotiation style so that you're, I don't know, win-win, getting what you're worth, or so that everybody wins and you get what you're worth and everybody wins or something.
I'm just gonna put this in, I'll change it.
Mm-hmm.
I have this copy in my webinar. I have the copy.
Yeah, and that's a great point too, Ellen. So this for everybody watching the call. You don't need to recreate the wheel. There's probably copy on your website, in your webinars, in different resources or freebies that you've created, maybe in social posts that you can take from to add into the quiz.
Okay, this isn't it, but I'm just putting it into hold. Okay, so now just go to questions.
Yes.
Do I have to save or is it automatically saved?
It automatically saves.
Okay.
So you can see that next to the publish button to the left, it says all changes saved.
Oh, no, you know what?
Um,
My pictures are there. You guys are there. Okay, so here's the first question.
Now I'm curious, these people that you're speaking to, is this always in business? Is it in their personal life too? And I ask that because this question, which of these compliments would you like? Oh, would you like most to get? Okay, I read that wrong. I was thinking, does it matter? Like, I guess the compliments that you could get would be different if you were at work versus like with family or friends or something. So maybe you would want to call that out, but it's
That's a good point.
maybe just to like make this read clearer. And again, I'm a terrible reader, so maybe this is just me. Which of these compliments is most like you or something? Which of these compliments are you most likely to get? And then I think this is good. I don't know if you never ruffle anyone's feathers. I don't necessarily, does that come across as negative to anybody? I wonder if you could just rephrase that as
That makes
This is-
perfect sense to me. It's that person who never like makes other people, they always like people pleaser. You know, they'll go always go along with what somebody else is saying
Right.
just because they don't want to cause waves.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. And then, sorry, Ellen, are you correlating? This is going to help you get the person to the right result in this question?
Yeah, all the questions right now do. And I'm going to
Okay.
add a question that you mentioned before. And I don't know if I need all these questions. I do a corporate event and I use this as a corporate team building exercise. So I was trying to cut some of the stuff down, but I didn't cut that much out. But I'm
Okay,
going to
that's
definitely
okay.
add a question like you suggested.
So these are questions that you've already gotten people to answer that work with
Yeah.
you. Okay,
Yeah.
so you might not even want to take our feedback. If your audience, the people that you want to work with and that you're wanting to attract, are answering these questions and getting benefit from the results, then you're killing it. Like, that's exactly what you want the quiz to do.
Yeah, but my people are live. My people are in live events. I'm trying to reach new people now. So I am,
Online. Okay.
I'm open to feedback. I'm certainly open to it.
Cool. Okay, good to know. My motto is act now, ask questions later, get the facts ready to go, wait and see, better safe than sorry. Yep, this is good too. I can see how those would relate.
Now, why do I have all those little things?
That's
there?
because I showed you what you could change. So back on the screen, if you click on use text answers, it's like the right above the first answer there. Nope, right there.
Okay.
Now it goes back. And then if you wanted to put an image there, you could click show question image and that'll show the big image above the question. All right, so when in a group meeting, you speak more, you make a few very relevant points, trying to expand on what others have said, you keep quiet and take good notes. I can see how these relate as well. Yeah, I think same feedback that I gave Greg is, and even a little bit to Gabby is, some of the, I can see where, and again, this might just maybe me because I know quizzes, but some of these questions and answers, I can see how they get me to the right result. Do they help you understand more about your audience or give you information that you could follow up on specific things about? If not, do you need to ask all of those questions?
Right.
So just something to think about. You don't have to change anything now, but just something to consider.
Is there any value in mixing up the order of the answers so that people don't realize if you're an A, B, C, or a D?
I was going to say that. I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to say it on the last question. If you go back into, or maybe it was my motto is, I noticed it. See how like better safe than sorry. You don't ruffle feathers. You take good notes and keep quiet in a meeting. Sometimes, I mean, it's not a bad thing that it's set up like this. I would try to scramble the answers though, because people can sort of like get in, not a funk, but like get in a rhythm of like, okay, all of my answers are always at the bottom, or they're like, okay, I want this result, so I'm going to keep clicking on this answer because I know it's going to get me to the result that I want. So I think scrambling them up is a good idea, but here's where we said you can't rearrange the answers. You would just have to like retype them out in a different order.
And how would you duplicate the page or something?
So what I usually do is like, you could just copy better safe than sorry, like cut it out and put it in the first one and then move the first one to the last one or something. Is this quiz already live?
Well, in theory, it's live, but it's not.
Okay, but people aren't really taking it. Okay, so the reason I asked that is because if you did rearrange the answers, the analytics that are existing on your quiz are going to follow where the original answers are set. So I don't think you have to worry about that because there's not analytics that you're looking at right now.
All right.
Does that make sense how to move them though? Like how to move better safe than sorry to the top? So double click on better safe than sorry, or if you highlight that text there in the last answer. Are you wanting to move this before I show you?
No, I'm just, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then I have to change the correlation, right? Edit the correlation.
You would have to, yeah. So that if you move the answer and it's correlated to something, you would want to change that so that it sticks with the right result.
Okay. So I would go here.
First, hold up before you do that. Better safe than sorry. Either copy or cut it. So you can do that with your mouse or Control C. There you go. And then maybe you want to put that in the first one. Let's just say. So in act now, ask questions later.
Okay.
After that text, I would paste it in there.
Oh, I see what you mean. And then
same thing backwards. Yep.
Right.
Take out act now, ask questions later, and put it in the last one. And then once,
Okay.
You're not going to do it now. That's okay.
I'm not going to do it now because I don't want to. I want to do everything together.
Sure. So then, but like you said, if you did that, if you swapped those, then you would go into edit answer correlations and reset the configuration so that the right answer is going to the right result.
Now, why wouldn't there be something here connecting it? Is there?
I think it's just the way that it was set up. So I would, I'm guessing wait and see is passive loose and get the facts is aggressive tight.
Yeah.
So then what you would do is just click on that circle on the left, drag it straight across. And then click on the aggressive tight circle. Yep. And then same thing, wait and see, click on that circle, and then click on passive loose.
I don't know why they wouldn't do that.
And then save.
I would have to redo this whole thing. All right. We did this one.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was just like a fun question.
That is a fun question. And also like maybe it gets them, because same thing, rather than only asking questions that get people to the right result, can you get them to think about their future a little bit? What else do you want to know about them so that you can follow up like more specifically? So this one could maybe help you do that. If somebody came into this money, what would they do? If they're like that, I feel like that relates to their negotiation style. If they're negotiating for more money, they're going to be able to do these things that they love to do. You could then speak to those things of, hey, you said you wanted to spend a night out on the town with your friends. You can do that if you take my webinar to have better negotiation style. I don't say it like that at all, but you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I like your idea about using different questions. Like that didn't even dawn on me. I've been doing this quiz for 10 years in a workbook. So I'm so open to new ideas and appreciate it.
Yeah. Welcome to the online. This is exciting. Right? Yeah. Yeah, I think that all of, I mean, I totally see where this is coming from though. And it would honestly also, Ellen, be interesting to see, since the quiz is ready, it looks like it's integrated with your system. I'd probably just go back and double check that all of the questions correlate to the right result that you have for all of them. But then it might even be interesting to see it might be interesting to see really promoting this version of the quiz, like, because this is, I'm assuming, the same as the workbook or pretty close to what you were doing in the workbook.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So just doing it as is, getting it out there and seeing what happens, like what people do, because it might work the same where it works really well for them and you just need to get it in the eyes of the people that you want to start working with more, like you need to promote it more. Or it could be that online it doesn't translate the same and you have to change up the questions and things like that. Yeah. So
one last question. I know you probably exhausted. It's been like a long marathon session. If I wanted to, if I wanted to delete a question and put another question, I just change the words. Don't start a new question.
So, okay, good question. So yes, you can do that. You can simply just change out the question and change out the answers. Just keep in mind that if you completely change the question, let's say you change it to something totally different, the analytics would stick with this question. So let's say you don't like this question anymore, people aren't answering it, and you don't need to know this information. I would probably delete the question and then add a new one, because that sort of resets the analytics, so that, because then you just, like, unless you really knew the date that you changed it on, you would be looking at analytics for something that happened before that you don't see anymore, if that makes sense. So it just depends. Like if it's just like changing the wording or maybe adding in another answer, I'd probably keep it the same. But if you're putting a totally new question and you're getting rid of something else, I'd probably delete it and add a new question.
Okay. And then the last thing is, should I put I know that the other people that were showing their quizzes, they had a question on a picture on each page. How do I put a picture up here? Just show question image?
Yep. And so I like quizzes that have a combination of this, the question image, and the answer images. So that was like the little squares where you could have an image related to each answer. Okay. Maybe for you, like if you go back to the lottery question, the one above it, maybe this one would make sense to use image answers, and then it's like people celebrating out with their friends. It's someone shopping. It's somebody going to the bank to save it or something. Yeah.
That's good.
So
that's good. That's going to write that down.
Yeah, you could play around with that, because that, again, it's like, it's less reading. Well, okay, that's not true. I mean, maybe it is, but you can, like, people relate to, some people really relate to images and some people really relate to text, right? So doing a combination of those things just makes your quiz more engaging for a wider range of people.
Right. Okay, this is very helpful. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
should I hit publish or no? No.
Okay, so what did we change in here? You added your subtitle, the description, and that cover. So if you click publish, go ahead and click publish. And then you're going to get this pop-up. So if you hit publish changes, what you've just typed in the description is going to show everywhere that you have the quiz shared. So wherever you have the link or embed codes, it will update, so that will appear. If you hit save and exit, it's going to save the changes in the builder. You can come back to it, perfect that sentence, add your pictures or whatever, and then publish. And then it will only save in the builder. It won't be reflected wherever the quiz is shared live. So up to you what you want to do there. Yep. So then when you come back to the quiz and click edit, the changes will be there in here. They're not going to be on the live site until you hit publish and then publish changes.
Okay. Fabulous. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah. I love when you all share your quizzes, because I really think I think you all, even though you're very different industries, get a lot out of hearing and seeing other people's quizzes and giving feedback to other people. So I think that's great. I want to, before we end, I'm going to share my slide deck again so we can go over homework for this week.
And you're going to tell us when that session is next week, that special session?
Yeah, Ellen, I can't remember if it was you or if it was somebody else who emailed me right before this. I sent a calendar invite. So all of our coaching sessions are at the same time every week. So we'll meet at, 12 noon Pacific every Wednesday. So next week, Wednesday, 12 noon, we'll have your week 4 tech session. And then the following week, Wednesday, 12 noon Pacific, we'll do week 5 launching and promoting your quiz.
Right.
There is a session tomorrow that some of you might have on your calendars. That's the expert session for market research. So we're bringing somebody on to lead a discussion about how to do market research, resources and basic tips, mistakes to avoid, things like that. She's an expert in that. So I'm here to watch and sort of moderate, but she's running that session, and that would be in addition to coaching. Same thing with office hours. If anybody comes to those, that's in addition to coaching and at a different time.
Got it.
Cool. All right. So homework for next week is to write out your questions and then post your quizzes in the quiz collective, the quiz feedback channel. And I just want to say that if your quiz isn't perfect, if it's not totally done, even if your results pages are still sort of in bullet form, you can absolutely still share your quiz for feedback there, because I've said this before, you might pick up on things, or other people might give you feedback on things that you didn't necessarily think of. So before you get your quiz all the way there, share it now wherever it's at, get some feedback on it, and you can make sort of like those tweaks if needed. Maybe it's perfect and you're going to keep on going with it. But you might realize something that you should include before you get too far ahead in finalizing or perfecting the quiz. Because remember, the first version of your quiz is not going to be perfect. It is an iterative process. So we can come back to it, make changes, optimize it over time so that it gets to where you need it to be. And then also sharing in the quiz collective, getting feedback on your quiz sooner rather than later will not only save you time, but it'll build up your confidence too when you go to share your quiz. Because I promise you, when I say the number one reason I find in the community that quizzes aren't successful, people aren't getting the results that they want, is because they're not promoting it enough. And sometimes that has to do with people thinking, oh, it's not there yet, it's not perfect yet. But that we really want to get the quiz out there in order to start seeing those analytics come in so you can make the right changes moving forward. So sharing it in the quiz collective will sort of like boost your confidence there, because you'll know, okay, all these people who've been making quizzes, Jackie the quiz coach, we come from a very loving place. We just want to make sure that everything looks right, just like sort of a second glance before you hit publish and send it out to your followers. Because I totally understand the need for it to look and feel like your brand, and be at a certain level of, it's a reflection of you. So I understand where the perfectionism comes in, but get your quiz 70% of the way there, and then let's publish it. So just a screenshot here of the channels that you can reply in the quiz collective. So questions and segmentation, if anybody wants to share different questions on their quiz, or their quiz, like all of the quiz questions like we went over today, you can ask questions, get feedback here. And then when you're ready to share your quiz, you can drop it in quiz feedback just below in the Coaches Cafe. And then members of the community will give you some comments there. I guess one thing to note here with the quiz feedback is if you are looking for somebody in a specific industry, or somebody who might be like reflect your ideal client, maybe just call that out in the title of your post. So here where I have best practices for quiz questions, just call that out, like who you're looking for, what your quiz is about, because that'll bring in, again, the right people if they see that. Like just as an example for Greg, he wants people who have students in school probably. So he could put that in the subject line of like, hey, anybody with students, can you take my quiz and give me feedback? All right, and then don't forget, anytime you can ask me anything that you need in the quiz collective. We also have office hours every Tuesday. And just wondering before we end, if anybody has any other questions for today.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
So I was thinking of questions to ask. Like, I was thinking of the feedback you were giving Greg about getting them to think about their future. Mm-hmm. And kind of putting themselves in that future place. In that case, it was their kids, but still. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking I could remove a couple of the more vague questions and maybe add questions like, how have you been feeling about your body lately? Kind of like a temperature check, a awareness check-in, and like, how do you want to feel about your body?
Yeah.
Your state.
Yeah, for sure. I think that, and that's where, so I know you have the light plan, Gabby, that's where the growth plan could come in handy, because you'll get a breakdown of like your total audience, like of everybody who's taken the quiz, how they're answering it. Yes, the workaround is to look at that in your email marketing system. but using the analytics to see like how people are responding will let you update your messaging, maybe in social posts, maybe in resources that you share, maybe in future offerings that you're going to create, to really speak to where they're at right now and where they want to go. You can use sort of their language, because that's what's going to call in the right people and really get them excited to work with you, so that they can get to that, like they can become that butterfly, get to that ideal state, make that transformation.
Awesome.
I'm going to, so in the replay email that I send out, which you'll probably get tomorrow, the resources are going to be linked in there. They're also in the quiz collective pinned over to the right in the questions and segmentation channel. Gabby, I might suggest for you, actually, let me just share my screen really quick. I might suggest for you to look at one of these blog posts, because, and not just Gabby, really anybody who's thinking through different questions you want to ask. Share screen. There is this blog post. So here in questions and segmentation, you have week 3 resources pinned over here. So these are 50 quiz questions you should be using, 20 personality questions you should ask your business. So these are blog posts that give you sample questions, but they also give you sort of reasonings as to, I love your gift, Erica. I didn't see that earlier. That also give like reasonings as to like why you would want to ask this question over something else. So that might be a good place for you to start, Gabby, of like, if you're not sure, like you want to ask these sort of like transformational questions, or anybody who's thinking through questions they can ask. You can use examples from the templates, but also from these blog posts. And then the blog posts go even a little bit further and give like more of a background as to how you can use that question to your advantage. Did that answer your question, Gabby? Does that help?
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Cool. I mean, in short, I think what you just said works for sure. But if you're wondering like about wording or like different things you could ask or something, this is what I would suggest you check out. Okay, cool, everyone. Another lovely session. I really love it so much when you all share your quizzes. I think it just makes the session so much more impactful and really helpful to each other. And also to me, it makes it so much more fun for me. So I will see you all. If you want to go to actually, I'm going to share my screen one more time, sorry. In here, I just want to show you, because I do get asked this about the sessions. So in here, expert sessions and events. These are all upcoming events that we have planned that are in addition to your 5 weeks of coaching. So you should have had from the replay email and from signing up to coaching a link to add the 5 weeks of coaching to your calendar. You can also RSVP to office hours. Tomorrow we have the market research session. In February, we're doing a session on Pinterest. So here's the Canva session with Yvonne. So you can come in here and see what else would apply to my quiz or even your business that would be beneficial to you. And you can RSVP to these events. You can even click in on them, and then I give you some more information about like what we're going to be covering. And then normally it will look like this. And you can just hit RSVP and then add it right to your calendar so that you have it saved as to what's happening and when. All right. Any other questions before we go? Everybody feeling good?
Thank you.
Cool.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
See you next week.
Oh, I have one question for you. Next week, we're going to be covering 2 email marketing platforms. So one that has a direct connection and one that has a Zapier connection, so third-party integration. Which platforms do you all use? Because I will give these to Liesl to see if she can cover those specifically. No guarantee, because she's going to need to have access to that platform. But I always like to know what everyone uses so that if we can show your email marketing platform, we will. Claire, do you have one?
I'm on MailChimp and I've connected it all up very easily. It's been really, really good.
Oh, perfect. So you're already integrated.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Ellen, which one are you using?
MailChimp also.
MailChimp? Okay. Gabby, which one do you have?
I use Flowdesk and Sprout, but I know how to use Zapier and I'm pretty comfortable setting it up myself. So you don't need to take the time in the presentation for that. All
right, cool. Well, I will
use ConvertKit.
Okay, and you're all integrated, Erica, or do you have some questions on it still?
I do have some questions. I've been poking around and just like trying to get my life with it, but I feel like it's a lot of not guessing or like, I think that this is what this does, but so it would be nice to have some guidance.
Okay, cool. I'll see if she can do ConvertKit. And then MailChimp is another direct connection. So we'll do one of each. And if we don't present on, and this is mostly for everyone watching the replay, if we don't share, if Liesl doesn't show your specific email marketing platform, the session will still be helpful to you because the systems and the integration works pretty similarly. The biggest difference is the language that the email marketing system uses. So some call segmenting segments, some call it lists, some call it tags. So that's really the biggest difference. So I'll see if we can get ConvertKit and maybe Flowdesk, because ConvertKit is a direct integration where Flowdesk is the third party you need the Zap to connect it. So I'll see if she can do that. And then anybody catching the replay, I'll also ask you in the email so you can share with me what you use. And whichever response I get the most of, I'll see if she can do that one. Okay, with that, have a good night, everybody. I'll see you next week or at any of the other sessions that we have or in the collective. So thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hi, Jackie. Thank you.